on. All right, so good evening. So we were going to start lying down with the shoulders on the blocks, and we'll just have the legs straight out in front, though of course you can always choose a different position. Okay, I think I've got everything all set here. And getting that block there. And as usual, taking your time arriving there on the block. Tucking those shoulder blades under a little, maybe using those hands underneath the back of the head there, lengthening that neck out and slowly easing that head over with lots of space in the neck. And then bringing your attention to your breath. Inhaling and exhaling, taking a moment noticing what is. And it's often a little challenging to breathe here on the block. We have a hyperextended upper chest. So just gently drawing through that down into the lower abdomen. And exhale, letting go, melting over the block. Maybe over the course of the next few breaths, you can feel that upper chest starting to open up a little more, starting to be a little bit more stretch between the ribs, so that inhale moving through the upper chest can be a little deeper. And if you feel inspired, you can breathe out through the arms, through the fingertips, stretching the arms out. Doesn't have to be overhead, might be out to the side, might just be a reach down long and low. And then maybe taking some movement there with the snow angel arms going wide, up and down the sides. And you can also bring those arms through the center line, reaching the fingertips up to the ceiling and towards your toes and around. All right, and then once you've thought through all those options, really connecting the breath to the movement of the arms. And gradually see if you can let the breath be in control. Letting those arms just flow along on the wave of the breath, or maybe the arms are resting in stillness, that's fine as well. And noticing the balance of effort and ease in the body. Maybe you're adding a little bit of energy to reach out through the fingertips, to draw those arms through some sort of position where they need a little assistance. Being the observer, more than the doer. And then in the next few breaths, we'll arrive at a place of stillness, some place where the weight of the arms can go down into the floor, letting go. Inhale and exhale. How heavy can you be into the floor? And then we will gently make our way off the block and back down to the floor. Feeling that upper chest melt into the floor. Big inhale and exhale. And let's bend the legs. Feeling the weight of the feet into the floor, letting that belly and lower back sink a little more into the floor. And we'll hinge the right leg in, and then holding on somewhere along the back of that leg, extending it up any amount. Inhale and exhale, heavy into the floor. At the same time, sending that exhale up through the right leg, like there's a little gravitational pull toward the ceiling through that right foot. And then we will circle that right ankle 6 times one direction. Nice big gooey circle. Keeping that breath going. Try to smooth it out. So sometimes this ankle circle is a little rough going. Oh well, try to smooth it out. Then we'll go the other direction. And then finishing with that, let that right leg bend, shift it a little to the side, holding on to that right ankle or shin, or maybe the back of the thigh or the outer foot, so we're in a half happy baby. And then we'll flex that left foot, sliding the left leg out. Inhale and exhale. Left leg heavy into the floor, right knee heavy toward the floor. Softening the face and the top of the shoulders. And then letting go of that right leg. Just set the foot on the floor, bend the left leg. Take a couple breaths. Once again, soles of the feet heavy toward the floor, back of the body heavy into the floor. Softening the face and the jaw in case any tension kind of crept in there. Softening the shoulders. And then we will hinge that left leg in, holding on along the back of that left leg, extending the left leg up any amount. And feeling that body heavy down into the floor. Shoulders and arms also have a feeling of heavy down toward the floor. And then sending that breath a little bit up through the left leg, almost like there's a gravitational pull from the ceiling. And then we will circle that left foot nice and gooey, approximately 6 times. Inhaling and exhaling, maybe 1 or 2 breaths around. And then going the other way. And finishing with that ankle circling. And then we'll let that left leg then shift the thigh out a little to the side. You can hold on to the ankle, maybe holding on behind the thigh. If you can get the outer foot, left knee and thigh heavy toward the floor, half happy baby. And then flexing the right foot, sliding that out, lengthening out the front of that right. Big inhale and exhale, sinking into the floor. And letting yourself rest in that wave of the breath. And then setting that left foot down, bend the right leg in again. Inhale and exhale, going back to that complete surrender. Maybe the knees fall in and support each other so you can soften even more. Staying very present with this ease, though. And one more breath here. And we will gently make our way up to sitting. Ah. And let's sit in Sukhasana. So let's see, why don't we all I'll be the mirror at the moment. Why don't we all put the left leg in front? Just for something different than always starting with the right leg in front. And using those arms alongside, a little leaning back, getting space between the vertebrae, space in the hip sockets, a little shifting if needed. And then slowly releasing with the arms, letting the hands rest on the knees, either palms down or palms up. And then finding that balance of effort and ease. You're both resting against the wall behind you, sliding up the wall behind you. Maybe you can feel that pull up toward the ceiling from the top of the head. So our spine is being lengthened by gravitational pulls in two directions. And then settling back into the wave of the breath, becoming the observer and not the doer for a few moments. And then let's let that breath pour out through the front of the shoulders, through the fingertips, bringing them out to the side. And breathing those arms up, taking up lots of space. And then we'll reach up through one side and the other. Inhaling and exhaling. Inhaling and exhaling. Going on your own timing. So of course we're doing a lot here. But see if you can let it all be centered on that wave of the breath. Inhaling and exhaling. And checking for any tension in the face of the jaw or the top of the shoulder. So we don't want to pull too much with the arm and that shoulder joint. A little bit more lift up and lift up all the way from the base of the spine. At the same time, a reach down through that sitting bone and a reach down. And if you're feeling a little weary of this, can you just breathe through that weariness? Maybe it doesn't matter. Letting yourself go to that wave of the breath. And just resting there. So we don't always have to move away from something that feels a little bit uncomfortable.
Yin Yoga isn't about 100% comfort like restorative yoga is. It's more about letting go of control, being more passive, accepting what is. And then finding the balance for yourself today at this moment. Maybe you don't want that challenge of having that edge of weariness that you're going to keep breathing through today. But we're only going to do this for a few more breaths. And then we will finish with both arms up overhead, stretching out those hands, and a big reach down. And let's interlock the fingers behind, rolling the shoulders out. I think you can actually see my arms there in the mirror off to the right. Inhaling and exhaling, maybe leaning back onto the arms, taking a little lift up through the upper chest. And then coming back up to vertical, we're going to bend the elbows and let's take those hands over to the left hip. Shoulders back and down, elbows doing a little pull together and back. Lengthen through the top of the head. Pause a moment, making sure you're not using more effort than needed. And then we'll tilt the head to the left, toward the hip where the hands are. Right shoulder dropping down. So we're not trying to get our left ear to our left shoulder. We're thinking about that space from the outer right shoulder up through the side of the neck and out the top of the head. Smoothing everything out with the breath. Maybe a little tilt forward with the chin or a little lift up, looking for a good spot for yourself. And then we'll all let that head tilt down, coming to the center down. Reaching the arms back, release the hands, bringing the hands onto the knees. Inhale and exhale, taking a few moments letting that settle in your body. And then we'll do the same thing on the other side. So bringing the hands back to interlock the fingers, maybe changing the cross of the fingers back there. Can't figure it out, doesn't matter. And a little lean back onto the hands again, lifting up as long as that wasn't too crunchy on the wrists or the knuckles. And coming back up, and then we'll bend the arms, taking them over to the right hip. Shoulders rolling back and down, draw the elbows a little bit toward each other. And then pulling the elbows back a little. Inhale and exhale, just making sure you're not making more effort than you need. And we'll tilt our head to the right toward where our hands are. Inhaling and exhaling. Thinking more about making space on that left side from the left outer shoulder out the top of the head rather than trying to squeeze your right ear toward the shoulder. Maybe a little tilt down or a little lift up with the chin, looking for a good spot for yourself and continuing to breathe. And then we'll all let that chin tilt down, slowly coming around head to the center. Release the arms, and then we'll just continue with that head drawing us forward and over onto our imaginary bolster. Extend it out in front of us. Inhale and exhale, letting yourself rest on that, feeling the sides of the back, letting go, pouring off into the floor. Every inhale expands the back of the body a little more, making more space. Exhale, letting go a little more, pouring into the floor, off the right and left sides. And just noticing what bits of effort do you need to actually support yourself to create that imaginary bolster so the back of the body can be easeful. And what don't you need? What is just resistance that you can let go of? And we'll take a few more breaths here. And then coming up, unfurling that spine vertebrae by vertebrae back up on top of the sitting bones. Inhale and exhale, arriving there, arriving in this moment. And then, let's bring those legs in, give them a little straightening out, and we're headed back down to the floor. So adjust on your mat so you have space to roll down. Take a reach through the heels, maybe a little bit of a forward bend or pushing from behind. We're not going to stay here long. Just a nice yawn for the back of the knees. And then we will make our way down to the floor. You can use the arms to help. Maybe you can gently reach forward and roll down. Make sure that roll isn't making you tense. As if you're holding on to something with those hands. And just easing yourself down into the floor. And we land. Couple breaths heavy into the floor, really feeling the weight of your body. Then we are going to bend the legs and do the crossed legs, with the right leg in front. So this is a little different than the soles of the feet together. If this feels like a little too much for the hips, it can be it's a different kind of stretch in the hips. You can take those feet together, knees out to the side, which is a little less on the outer rotation deep in the hips. But if you can, crossing the legs, and walking the feet out toward the knees. So we're trying to have the shins at about the mid shin or maybe a little lower crossed rather than just the ankles if you can. And inhale and exhale. And notice what's happening to the pelvis. Maybe it's tilting up, which mine likes to do here because of the tightness of the hip joints. Maybe there's a little tilt to one side or the other. And so take a moment, engaging a little more actively with those deep core muscles and leveling the pelvis. Balancing the right and the left side, balancing that triangle of the two hip bones and the pubic bone on top, feeling wide and flat across the sacrum on the floor. And that belly button sinking down into the spine, into the floor. Take a few moments, maybe being a little bit more effortful with that effort. And then see how much can you let go of while maintaining that place of balance. So sometimes in a shape in Yin Yoga, especially when we don't have a lot of props to work with, there's sort of an underlying assumption that your body has all that balance of effort and ease and all those alignments and things deeply set in the bones and tissues of a body. But chances are that maybe we don't quite have that level of subtlety yet. So maybe making a little bit of effort to achieve a little better balance of the bones and a little better balance in the alignment of the body makes an effect that's overall more easeful. And then continue breathing here. See if you can connect the breath to whatever effort you might be making. And then you cannot have to think about it so much, trusting the breath to maintain that balance for you. And stepping back, becoming more of the observer. And maybe eventually moving further in, away from observing and just being.
And then breathing back a little bit into your body, using those arms to help bring those legs in, give the knees a little pull into the chest, maybe a little squinging around. But we're not done here yet. We're going to go back to that crossed legs. This time crossing the left leg in front, also known as the other leg. All right, so as you're ready, bringing those legs back down, finding the crossed legs. And if there's a little achiness in the hip joints, maybe that's all right. If it feels more like pain, especially pain in the knee joints, just straighten out the legs for a bit or do something a little different down here. You could do the figure four, that would be a possibility. All right, so getting settled, finding that balance of effort and ease, which at this point may actually feel like it has a little bit more ease to it. Let's see if you can just continue breathing deeply and easily through anything that's just discomfort in those hip joints. Checking for any tension in the face and the jaw. So sometimes when things get a little uncomfortable as we are pushing gently up against that edge of our range of motion here, it can lead to some tension in the face or jaw, a little resistance. See if you can let that go. As I said before, see at what point do you wish to work today? Do you want to work more easily, more restoratively? Maybe you need a little bit more comfort today, or maybe it's all right to be up against that edge. And just a few more breaths here. And then we will make our way out. So if you can, maybe taking a little interlock of the fingers, arms overhead first. Coming a little bit more actively back into your body before trying to move those possibly achy hip joints. And then using those
arms and hands to help bring the legs up. Taking your time, letting the hip joints settle, and bringing the legs in. In. A little squinging around if you like. And then finding your block. And we'll do the block under the sacrum. So putting the block underneath the legs. Take a couple moments feeling that weight into, there we go, know your prepositions, into the floor. And then lifting up, lock under the sacrum, sliding the legs out, maybe one at a time or maybe both. You can take the hands on the block near your waist, giving a press there. And just let the legs be where they want to be. Maybe they're hip distance apart, maybe they're not. Maybe they're a little more parallel, maybe they're falling out to the side. Inhaling up into that lower belly, exhale, pouring down through the legs, pouring up through the torso, into the tops of the shoulders, into the back of the head, into the floor. So if it helps to keep the hands on the block there, giving a little push that can keep the ache out of the lower back, you can do that. So we're not going to stay here all that long, maybe just another minute or so. And then taking a couple more deep breaths. And we will bend the knees, lifting up off the block, taking that block out, rolling slowly down into the floor. Landing on the floor, feeling that weight into the floor again. And then we will make our way back up, to sitting. And we will sit in Sukhasana again this time with the right leg in front. Yes, also known as the other leg. No, I'm not sure I actually did the right leg the first time. Oh well. Okay, and using those arms alongside. Well, if you can't, as I always say, if you can't figure it out, it probably doesn't matter. Lengthening up, getting space between the vertebrae again. Hands resting on the knees, palms down or palms up. Inhale and exhale. In a shape we've been in several times already, but now it's completely different because it's right now, this moment. Feeling that breath pouring through the body. Inhaling and exhaling. And then coming forward and over. And landing on our imaginary bolster, softening the sides of the back. Feeling that wave of the breath moving through the body. And then we're going to let that wave of the breath roll us up vertebrae by vertebrae. So we're going to ripple through the spine, the upper chest lift, and then reaching out and over. And we'll keep rippling up and down like that. Rounding up and back, inhale and exhale. Inhale and exhale up and over. So you can go on your own timing. Feeling every vertebrae there. Let's see if you can feel like you're just riding along with the wave of the breath. The movement in your body, just an echo of that breath moving inside. Then if it's not too much thinking, we'll try to reverse that wave. Diving forward, leading up and over with the upper chest, and rounding back. And we'll take a few more breaths here, wherever here is for you. And then finishing back up on top of those sitting bones. Inhale and exhale, landing here. And uncross those legs, stretching them out in front, big yawn in the back of the knees again. So we won't stay here long. And if you like, coming a little forward, pushing with the hands. For those who would like to take a little dip into that dot of yang in the yin side, maybe doing downward facing dog. And if you're doing downward facing dog, think of using your muscular effort to align the bones rather than trying to hold yourself up in the shape. And sending that breath through the body to support you. Inhaling up to the sitting bones. Exhale, pouring down the back of the legs. You can use that same thing if you're doing the seated forward bend. Inhaling into the lower belly, into the sitting bones. Exhale, pouring down the backs of the legs. And a little pouring down through the top of the head. Few more breaths here. And then we'll all make our way onto all fours. So if you're downward facing dog, just coming down. If you were sitting, just come around onto all fours. And we'll do the thread the needle shoulder stretch. So putting the left hand in the center, we'll take a twist open to the right, lifting that right arm up, maybe a little shifting forward and back. And then we'll dive that right arm through, walking the right hand out, sinking the right shoulder down. Inhale and exhale. And you can keep that left arm tucked under, letting your head rest on the left arm. Or if you want to extract the left arm and take it around to a half binding, or reaching it up into the air, or reaching it forward, you can do that. And then what do you need to do to give yourself the support you need to be easy? And letting go of what you don't need. Noticing what's going on with your breath. And we will finish here, taking one or two more deep breaths. And then we will extract that right arm back up onto all fours. If you want to take a little
animal stretching this up into downward facing dog for a moment. You could do that. And then we'll do that on the left, on the other side. So we're back on all fours, and we'll put the right hand in the center, reaching up with the left arm. And then maybe a little shifting there. And then diving that left arm through, walking the left hand out, sinking that left shoulder down. And so maybe you're content here with that right arm folded under the head, or you want to take it to a different position. Every exhale, that left shoulder, that left side of the body gets heavier to the floor. Shins and knees get heavier into the floor. And we'll take a few more deep breaths here. And then extracting that left arm, and we'll make our way to Shavasana. So if you want to stretch up in that downward facing dog once again, you can do that. Being a stretchy, easeful dog. And then we'll make our way to the floor, to Shavasana, if you're not already there. And so, as usual, if you can stay a little longer in this Shavasana, go ahead. All right. Remembering to center the head and the neck as well. Inhale and exhale. Now we're going for complete surrender to gravity.
Feeling that breath moving through the body. Especially in the first minute or so, all those little micro adjustments your body makes as things let go and rebalance themselves. Then maybe from being the observer, you sink in a little further and just being. Letting that wave of the breath wash over you, wash through you. And then we'll breathe back into our body. Little movement in the fingers and toes, circling the wrists and the ankles. Stretching those arms up over. Bend the knees. And gently making your way up to sitting. And sitting in any comfortable position. Taking a few more moments, sitting quietly inside yourself. Namaste. Thank you for coming. Let's